Yeesh. Hey, welcome back. I am feeling particularly blessed today to be doing another message, to be here with you guys, to just be doing this thing we're calling the awakening, moving into the new earth, welcoming it in, talking about ways we're going to facilitate it peacefully, the transition, just getting familiar with each other and our individual gifts and talents. I am excited because I feel like there's a new breath of air and awareness to this whole thing and this message sharing process. I've seen so many more enlightened videos and along the topics. I saw this one earlier. Now, okay, so I'm so excited to start this whole thing. The narc is finally gone and I can speak freely now. I obviously couldn't do these messages with him trolling around the house over listening, and especially not with his beliefs. That's a topic for another time. So I started this sooner than I probably should have. So I'm going to see if I can talk and make coffee at the same time. If not, I'll cut this out. Otherwise, let's get going on this. So I saw a video earlier today while I was scrolling because I couldn't really do much else while the narc was still here. But it was shared by one of my friends, but it was this other person who was talking about hang on now, I gotta get back in that frame of mind. Okay, I just remembered it. This woman was talking about accepting the bullshit. Like being told by her elders and her family and everything that just tolerating it and accepting it, putting up with it, is the course of action to take. They that's the way we get through things. And her argument was, no, that is not how we get through things. That is how it becomes the new standard, pretty much. She said it without saying it, that the more we tolerate, the more they're going to push the envelope. Like you see it with kids, you see it with policy, it's everywhere, it's right in front of us, but yet the advice we give to each other when going through a hardship or, a tough time is be resilient, tolerate it, put up with it, find a way to make peace with it, and somehow magically it'll get better. Well, no, because the people that are making it intolerable for you aren't all of a sudden going to see you tolerating it and say, oh, okay, she's resilient now, or this person is resilient now, I'm going to back off and make their life better. No, they're going to push even harder. They're going to say, oh, I got away with this, see what else we can get away with, right? I mean, same thing with kids. Kids do the same thing, pushing the envelope. Give them an inch, they take a mile. It's the same type of concept. And also with things becoming the new standard. I had a mentor once. He was had done roofing. He was like a general contractor, but in the roofing, he was a general contractor. This story is going to be about roofing. When he was a roofer, he came up and was roofing in the heyday of the transition between hand pounded nails and nail guns. He said he saw when the nail guns came out, and he recognized that sure, it saves the guy's time, and throwing that hammer all day, it saves him time, but a skilled, sorry, I just got a thing. a skilled roofer can sit there and just, he is like a, you know, a finely tuned, I don't want to call it machine, but you know what I'm, anyway. Oh shit, I forgot to, okay. So he said the only thing that's going to do is cheapen our value and require all of us to work harder and faster. Because yeah, it saves the first couple guys, it innovates and it makes, you know, and they're paying for it too, because the first couple nail guns were buku money. And so they get to innovate, they get to then reap the benefit of quicker roofs and however they want to market that. But as soon as it takes off, that becomes the new standard. Now everyone has to have a nail gun in order to keep up in the market, right? Well, that's exactly what happened. He also saw one of the greatest ladder companies in the United States made a welded aluminum ladder, like solid frame. The thing, you buy one, it's a lifetime ladder. This thing just does not fail. It's not stamped, it's not pressed together. It is like they welded it, a solid piece of aluminum, and it lasts you a lifetime. What did he see happen to that ladder company? They went out of business because people would buy one and that's all they ever needed, and they wouldn't ever return, and eventually they got priced out of the market, and then people weren't buying them, going to the cheap ones because they were like half the price and they just couldn't keep up. So they got, but they made such a quality ladder. They were in it for the best interests of their customer, not themselves. And that's why they failed. But businesses like that are exactly the ones that are going to thrive in the new earth. The ones that make one thing, not a throwaway thing, intent on that customer is a repeat customer for life. They make one thing that's good for the customer's lifetime. That's the new business model in the new earth that I wanted to kind of integrate into this discussion. But more along the lines of that ladder. Now, the reason why it wasn't the new standard was that it was so much more expensive than someone just looking to either, you know, expand cheaply, like not invest quality into their quality business. They would rather accept a substandard piece of equipment and try to make it this into the same thing that the expensive ladder was. Now, obviously they would want that expensive ladder, but were they willing to invest into that? No, because they didn't see the value in it, right? Eventually that ladder breaks and they buy two of them anyway, and here there you are. It's the same thing with Snap-on. You buy a Snap-on tool, it's probably the least likely to break, but if it does, it's a free replacement. So you're paying twice as much as your average Craftsman tool. So like, do you want to pay for it twice up front and have it not break, and if it does, get it replaced? Or do you want to pay for it and then when it does, and then Craftsman is the one that, you know, I mean, are they still in business? I don't know. But either way, I always liked Snap-on. They were the most innovative. They made the best quality, but you had to pay for it. And you paid for it twice up front because they knew, you know, they got to be able to stay afloat too, you know, in this. I mean, Snap-on, they definitely saw that ladder company. They were around. They saw them come and go. But that becoming the new standard is the same, along the same concept of the nail guns. But that becoming the new standard is the same, along the same concept of the nail guns and the working. I spent some time as early on in my career in a factory where I was expected to put out a certain amount of welded pieces. Per hour, per shift, whatever. I discovered right away that as soon as you make the quota, like, companies can have goals for their workers. Like, yeah, we'd like to see this much productivity. And at first it seems like, oh my God, how are we ever going to do that? But the more their workers innovate and do these things and really dig deep, they manage to make it work. Productivity. Next year, that's not just a suggestion anymore. That's the new standard. That's our benchmark. That's where we just raise the bar. Keep raising the bar. Keep raising the bar. Keep meeting it. Keep meeting it, and the bar just keeps going up. I mean, I'm not saying to not meet goals or, along those lines. All I'm saying is that they're never just gonna say, oh, hey, awesome, great, I'm glad you met our goal, and then that just stays the goal forever. No, and it's the same concept as, don't allow yourself to slip into the mindset that accepting your situation is in coping is the course of action to take. Because if you don't like something, there's a reason for it. It's not because you're faulty or you're wrong or anything, or you have the wrong idea. It's because it doesn't agree with your logic, with your inner truth. Obviously, there's things you can look at and really be like, why is it like that? Like, that makes no sense to me. But you see all these other adult, mature individuals going along with it as if that's life, that's just how it is, that's what we've learned to deal with, so you learn to deal with it too. It's like I wish I could think of like a bunch of I'm picturing a bunch of animals swimming around where every single one of them ends up running into this bush and gets like a thorn stuck in their side, and they're just swimming around like that, and they don't like it, but because they all have one, they're like, yeah, we kind of learned to deal with it. You just gotta do it this way, and it's just life, and once you run into that bush, it's just downhill from there, kind of a thing. Like, come on. And then, the one fish thinks, I don't want to live like this. What if I go up and I use my teeth and I pull on that thorn and yank that fish out of that other but I mean, yeah, my thorn is still here, but at least that person is better. What if I do that and maybe someone will do it for me? So they try it. See, they never tried it up until this point because they always assumed that it would never be done to them. So why help someone else if they're not going to do it for me? So they never did. But that one fish, that's all it takes, the one fish to go up and say, you know what? I don't want you to suffer anymore. Here, pull that thorn out. Let's move on. I don't care if my thorn stays in, but at least you're happy now. Stay away from that bush. This is new life. This is new earth moving forward. This is the concept. When you hear new earth, don't get freaked out and scared by it. Like, oh, it's this new hippie, new philosophy. No, I mean, see what shirt I'm wearing? See the tattoo on my arm? That's a "Don't Tread on Me" snake wrapped around an AK-47. That's who I used to be. Like, this is me. I used to hunt deer every year. Like, that's me, I'm formerly that person, that archetype, that I have a black Ram truck. Like, I'm fully into that sort of, you know what I'm talking about. And I would hear new age hippie stuff, woo woo, and fuck. I was never, like, I never believed the religion thing that was trying to be sold to me ever, my whole life. And I was brought up in it. But at the same time, like, I knew my roots and what was sold to me as truth and what I was taught to resist, even for no apparent reason, just for, it's not even logical, but at the time it seemed logical anyway. But just to resist, just because you hear these trigger words, new earth, new age, ooh, you hear awakened, like woke. I don't like woke. Even where I'm at right now in my life, in my journey, I don't like woke. But I get it. It got hijacked. Like, woke would have been perfect because it's the shortened awakened, right? Enlightened, the one that tunes into nature and source and consciousness, the one that's not blind to the world, that is not 10 years old and their emotional inner child isn't healed and it's screaming and doesn't know how to process their emotion, doesn't have emotional maturity, like hasn't been through the inner work and the trauma and the realization of things. Wokeness isn't that. Like, isn't the opposite of that. Like, it's wokeness has been switched into, oh man, from where I was in my life, the way we viewed woke was the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light commercial, Biden era, rainbow flags on the White House, sort of trannies flashing their tits on official White House. Like, that sort of, that whole scenery is appalling. It was brutal, and it was so against, like, truth. Like, I understand, like, don't get me wrong, like, I understand being, like, I'm not even gonna get into that discussion. Like, that is a whole nother topic for to organize my thoughts around, and I'm not prepared to be there right now. So to get back into just my understanding of what woke culture was, that was it right there. Because I decided not to dig any deeper into it, I remained ignorant for the longest time, even though I had so many pathways to potentially taking this thing home, this awakening thing, even from early on. I'm talking like 11, 12 years old. I was reading books, Power versus Force, David Hawkins, The Consciousness Scale, the control dramas. Like, that shit was, I was in therapy as a adolescent, and sort of learning that stuff early on. The Celestine Prophecy series, fucking loved it. But reading those books, and all through, so from then on, I never sort of got away from the awakening journey, but it came in little pieces from then on. There was it wasn't a movie yet at the time that it was introduced to me, but it was called What the Bleep Do We Know? And it was a book from my counselor, from my therapist. And it was that. Then I saw the movie come out. And then, when I was like in around high school, and from the, I just kept, it was always there in the background, but I never really like went all the way, and I wish I would have, but hey, it took me this long to get there, but here we are. Hey, it took me this long to get there, but here we are. That's the awakening. that I'm talking about. If we could just get woke back, it'd be so much easier to say woke than awakened or awokened, or you know, you to try to make a past tense out of a verb. There really isn't much available options, you know. And I know I just poured this and just put the cap on, but I'm really feeling this coffee here too. Yeah, I already drank it. Okay, let's get some coffee. We're gonna go into the 30-minute mark here. We just passed 20 minutes, and it doesn't feel like this video is gonna need much editing out the gaps in between. Like sometimes I'm talking so slow that I literally after I get done saying, just to form sentences, sometimes I gotta like compress, you know, if you know, you know, sort of thing. But the words just seem to flow today for me. Maybe the coffee's helping. Delicious. God, I love that coffee. I'm acknowledging that in the new earth, or in order to, let's see, let's reframe here. I don't like that as much. There we go. That's a little better. That feels more comfortable. At least then I can kind of sit in the middle. You got a nice plant to look at, nice wall, and a speaker. I don't know. But let's get back on topic here. So, the new standard being tolerance. Don't tolerate it. Like, if your inner truth is telling you something doesn't seem right here, don't tolerate it. Find a way. Use your inner truth to find a solution for it. And it might take sacrifice, and it's going to, because in order to break free from a lot of these oppressive systems, we need to show that we're not prepared to tolerate it anymore. And in standing is going to be standing out from the crowd, because the crowd of people that would tolerate it, they're doing that so that it's the path of least resistance. They'll take on that pain, the burden of carrying this, in order to not create as much resistance. It's the resistance that we need right now to these incoherent systems in order to build resonance, within that architecture, or a whole new architecture needs to be made. Like, if the whole damn thing needs to come down, I mean, the whole damn thing comes down. But otherwise, we could explore just redoing the way we do things a little bit. Like, even just taking a step back and a step away from the throwaway consumer culture that kept funding these massive corporations over a lifetime. Things used to be made so much better, not even just because they lacked the technology for mass production. I used to think that once you could mass produce things, they got more readily available for all people, and it might cheapen it because they gotta like reduce. No, they don't have to reduce it. They just choose to cheapen it because that's where the profits are. The more they can cheapen it, the more it keeps you coming back. I mean, imagine if cars didn't rust. If bodies of cars, like, look at Cuba. Like 50s Chevys, right? And they're putting like these 3-cylinder, sometimes 4-cylinder, but 3. I've seen a lot was the big joke. Like, you got this nice big old 50s Chevy being powered by this little 3-cylinder something. because it's the power plant, it's the motor they were able to get from China or whatever, because after the 50s, the US basically left them high and dry and said, nope, sorry, we're not. So they couldn't get parts, so they just did what they could. Beautiful cars, but powered by these little shitting 3-cylinder motors. I mean, imagine that. Like, if they built a car that wouldn't rust and that would just last for, you just keep changing out the motor, keep changing out the parts. Imagine how much wealth we would have held on to over the generations of not having to buy a new vehicle every 10 to 15 years. Imagine the amount of jobs that we could actually facilitate if we weren't trying to nickel and dime and make the most profits off of car repairs that we can before someone is willing to throw it away and get a new one. Sometimes the incentive is to make it so expensive that they do throw it away and get a new one, or profit as much as they can while they can, because it's inevitable that this person's going to get a new one. But in the end, the life that, like, you don't have the lifetime repair of things anymore, like investments for a lifetime, like a hand-me-down of something. And I get it, things wear out, they get, you know, they have to be replaced, and that, you know, something like that that's built to last, like with the ladder situation, is probably going to cost twice as much. And the investment in something like that to then turn around and have, you know, say the worst thing was to happen and it gets destroyed and you got to buy a new one or something, that's probably the lack of a willingness to accept the potential discomfort of a coherent system, like, you know, having the resistance to something, you know, that we talked about a couple minutes ago. This is the other end of it, saying that, okay, this happened, it sucks, but there's got to be like protections in place for when that happens, as long as like the rest of humanity is really trying to make what they have last and not just trying to throw it away and get a new one. And instead they're going to invest in new ball joints and new brake calipers and whatever might wear out over time. I mean, I'm talking 20, 30 years, you know. It's still a driving machine. Like the basic, the only thing that has changed is the looks and the creature comforts of it. Like, and not even that much fundamentally over time. Just basically the radio has changed, but the car still does the same damn things it used to. Yeah, safety and innovation on accidents and all that, okay. But you know what I'm talking about here. Like, first time I ever heard of a DeLorean, and that it was like stainless steel, and that they like triple epoxy coated the frame or something, like that was a cool idea. Like a lifetime car, all you'd ever have to replace is the engine and all the moving, you know, whatever other moving parts, but the basic thing was going to be there inevitably, right? That was the idea, but unfortunately that's where the idea ended with DeLorean. It was severely underpowered for what it was. It could have been a supercar, but instead they put like a shit power plant in, or maybe it was okay, but it wasn't great, and just, you know, kind of fizzled out. Maybe the expense of the stainless steel. I mean, someone who knows DeLoreans would know a lot more than me. I'm only just, you know, a messenger. But okay, we're at the 30-minute mark. I'm gonna end this one, split it into 3 for TikTok and, you know, whatever else. So I'm 30 minutes and 40 seconds now. So by the time I cut out all the gaps and get it all together. So thank you for joining me. It was good to see you. I love you, and never stop spreading your light. Hi, I just discovered I have more room. So I just did a segment that was 30 minutes. So 3 individual TikToks. This will be probably the 4th TikTok, and I can probably go another 3. So trying to get serious and still continue on with the topic of tolerance, tolerating things, structures, just becoming okay with the 9 to 5, 40-hour work week, that sort of stuff, and the stuff that just rings in your awareness as untruth, that there's something fundamentally wrong here, and just because the rest of humanity is going along with it doesn't necessarily mean that we should. Those sort of truths that, you know, they just stick out and they make you say, hey, there's got to be another way, you know. Now, we were talking about the DeLorean briefly right at the end there. And, you know, it's a further, like, from the topic of the nail gun thing becoming the new standard, the ladder thing becoming just pricing them. They didn't price themselves out of the market. They basically just made too good of a product. And they failed because no one had to buy it anymore, and no one would buy it because of the cost of making such a quality product, compared to the ones who were just stamping them together, and then they blew away in the wind. So where do we go from? What does it take to get? We don't want to be in the middle. We obviously want the best possible product we can make for the people. We want to also be able to have that be our livelihood moving forward. How do we do that? Not by tricking people into buying more of our product, not by, you know, making it fail so that they have to buy more than one in their lifetime. How about we make it as good as we possibly can? Sorry, that fucking hair sometimes. I need some more. Need a little bit of hairspray on this side so I can keep it up a little bit. It's getting down into my eyes. I don't know if you can see it through the sun, but it is long in the front. Anyway, not by dishonest business. Like, the most honest way you could do business is make it as good as you possibly can, make it last as long as you possibly can for the customer, but also have the general humanity be of the so what we're lacking is the consciousness. Having conscious individuals making the conscious decision to purchase that ladder, conscious individuals who are going to hire that roofer who purchases ladders like that, and also maybe hand pounds their nails. Maybe they said, I'm not the fastest roofer, but I'm also not going to give my money to these throwaway nail guns, or this whole industry that is trying to set the new standard of roofing for everyone else. I'm not going to buy into that. I'm hand pounding my nails and I'm fine doing it. This is what I need from you because I'm honest. I just had to buy this ladder, but this ladder is going to last me a lifetime. It's an investment. I'm going to hand it down to my kids someday. That is the way, that is truth synergistically, right? Like, you're going to hire that guy to do your roof because you know that every single shingle is going to be placed with care and hand nailed, not just nail gunned across, and then you end up with nails in your shingles and fuckery because they're trying to get it done as fast as they possibly can. Well, that doesn't happen when you're swinging a hammer by hand. So you're going to hire that roofer because you're conscious of the type of work that he does, because he's conscious of the type of product that he buys and the type of work that he does. Because he buys the product that's going to last him and he's going to invest the time in it, he knows that his customers are going to invest in him because they know that his work is going to be as good as gold. And that's reciprocal. That's consciousness in action. That's the type of relationships that we will be forming or reform. I mean, I'm sure they were there at one time. That, well, not entirely, not the whole thing. You had these little bubbles, like the ladder manufacturer and the hand-pounded nails roofer, my mentor. Not in roofing, but he was my mentor in, like, basically, like, fatherhood. But anyway, the hand-pounded nails, like that whole thing, that was little ecosystems in it. But we need the biodome. We need, like, the whole thing to encompass those things, to make them last, so that they don't get aged out or priced out of their own markets or whatever happened to them to make that sort of values fail over time. Innovations are great, but it's also can lead to a cheapening of things, and oftentimes does. I'm not going to sit here and split hairs. Let's start investing in each other. And if we can see that you're investing in consciousness, not just innovation, or not just the price, the cheap, how cheap can I get it, how efficient. It's consciousness. You're investing in, how does this person do their business? Where do they put their money? What sort of things do they invest in? Like, even if it comes down to, like, your favorite restaurant, right? You're going to go to that restaurant and give them your money. You notice the price of their coffee is like $1 more than the other guys. You find out that, see, now we're splitting hairs. All I'm trying to say is that maybe they invested in a better coffee maker and you're getting better coffee, whether you know it or not. But their price is such because they have a better machine to make their coffee that's not going to fail on them. And their price is going to stay that $1 more for 10 or 15 years versus the one down the street that's $1 less that invested in a cheap coffee maker that's going to break in 5 years, and their price now has to go up to compensate. So who's winning out in the end? The guy that went to the cheaper route initially to drink the cheaper coffee, that ends up drinking shitty coffee for that entire time and then paying the same amount in the end? Or the guy that was drinking quality coffee the entire time and just kept paying the same amount? It's truth. It's consciousness. Invest in consciousness. Pay attention to where your dollar goes while we're still dealing with this monopoly bullshit green funny money. Pay attention to where it's going. Pay attention to where it's coming from. How are, all this. Pay attention to what you're investing in. What is truth? Also, like, for, I don't even want to address the Christmas thing. Like, I'm not trying to get in here and talk about the spiritual, moral, whatever of the consumerist Christmas as we know it. But if I was to get someone that I cared about a Christmas gift this year, whose feet are going through dramatic transitions in older age, widening, and just all pain and all kinds of stuff, who won't listen to my energy healing techniques or anything that I've tried on him, doesn't believe it's going to work, all these things, all these projections and ideas that he has about how only surgery could ever help him because the medical system tells him so, and all these things, all these ideas, all these toxic things that I just can't. Now I'm projecting. I can't break through with this guy, but that's me projecting. Obviously, I could if I don't know, if I was gonna get him a Christmas present, I would get him. I saw this cool thing I wanted to get. And I'm like, what do I want to get? But It's tuning forks, right? I saw the thing and the lady was doing it and her cats were loving it. I'm like, oh, fuck. I could just get him this tuning fork and ding, and he just like puts it on his foot, and like over time, maybe it heals. Maybe it helps with pain. I don't know. That's something I would get him. But what am I doing? I'm sitting here. The universe is blessing me with monetary funds in my account, even though I don't want to put it out there that I'm not bringing it in, because obviously it's coming to me, so I am bringing it in, but I'm not exactly, it's not coming to me in the traditional ways of me trading 45 hours of my life every week in order to receive from an employer. Right now I'm kind of in limbo as far as that goes. Even regardless of whether funds are coming in and being received by me, I don't feel like I have the same amount of the ability to dictate, or I don't feel as much I don't feel I have as much say or freedom, or why is this word so hard to access? Like those neurons, man. They're just that one. That's an old. It's there still, but it's so rewired and backward. Like it's one that's I'm about to lose it if I don't, like it might be gone forever if I don't recall this one soon. Because to get to that neural pathway, I wish I could just feel it into your knowing, into your consciousness, into your understanding. But I just don't feel I have the same amount of if I was in the traditional sense earning the money, I wouldn't have an issue buying it, buying whatever, really, whatever came to my whim and fancy, I would buy. But right now, because of the unique way that the money is coming in, it would be an outward display to him that I used that money to get this certain thing that he probably doesn't believe in. And I would have to then sell him on the idea that, hey, you gotta do this, this works. I don't care if you don't think it's not going to. Just bing, and then put it on your foot, and just bing, and put it on your foot. I don't care how many times it takes, keep doing it, and try. Like, I could do that, and I could try to convince him that it's gonna work and to do it, but he'd probably be so pissed off that I bought it, or whatever. I don't want to project that either, but I'm just saying, like, there's a reason why I didn't buy it. I wanted to. I was so excited, I wanted to, but I didn't. And is that me letting, like, what is that? What? Someone else break it down for me, because you could look at this in a couple different ways. That's either me letting the situation dictate the outcome, me projecting on what I think is going to happen, me not being willing to break out and show him the way, show him the light, try to get him on the right track. Like, is it like, is it something that maybe I was smart in just like picking my battles, picking my hills to die on, picking, like, if he wants to have pain in his feet, let him. That's his free will. That's his thing to live with. That's what he chose for himself. Like, all those aspects too, like me not interfering to a level of, to the extent of where I'm going to be taking his money and doing things with it that he wouldn't normally do. So therefore I'm impeding on his free will. There's so many ways to look at this. And why I didn't get those tuning forks. But I think those things would just be great. Like, this is good. It's good. So when I when I got suspended, I realized that I needed to guard my money like very closely, because the minute I ran out, I would be in the world of shit for it, because relying on him, I could do videos, I could probably write books on the nature of the situation. But I had this awesome friend who happened to own a vape shop, and I happened to be partaking in hemp flower and stuff at the time, and vaping and all that stuff, which I don't do anymore. I don't do the hemp flower, I don't vape. There's a lot that I wouldn't ever have a reason to go back into that shop. But at the time, like the Peak Pro was, it was like, what was it, $450 or something like that. I'm like, not for me, obviously. I wasn't gonna make myself afford that. I'm trying to hang on to my money, and even though that product is, apart from the fact that whatever, I'm not getting into my review, but anyway, basically I told myself, no, that's just not in my cards. I'm not gonna want one. I don't need one. I'm not gonna be down because I don't have one, that sort of thing. I think my friend could sense that in me, like that I secretly did. I could appreciate it for what it was, and I could see that's peak. They picked a good name for it. Like, that is peak concentrate dabbing right there. Like, that is the way to go. But I wouldn't bring myself to get one. And I knew that the minute I brought it home, or I tried to, like, it's a new sound in the house, that the narc sound Nazi would hear it and have to see, and he'd probably walk past my room and see this new bright shiny thing sitting there and realize that, I just spent a shitload of money on something that, no, it ended up being a 420 contest that I wasn't even gonna I swear I manifested that thing, because I like, my friend was like, hey, kept reminding me to put my name into this thing, and I thought, oh yeah, I had it in my mind that if I put my name in, I was gonna get one of those, and I just wasn't. I was avoiding it for that reason. Like, I was like, nah, whatever, I don't need one. And I just, even though it was a contest, it was a drawing, but I was like, if I do that, I'm gonna end up with one of those things, and I don't even really want one at this point, because I wouldn't feel like I had earned it and all that stuff. Like, whatever it was, I don't even know the exact, like, recipe that I had gone through to manifest that thing. But wouldn't you know, I fucking got it for the 420 contest, and proudly brought it home, because now, yeah, look, I won a contest. Look, it says congratulations on the bag. Like, hey, there's nothing you could say about this, huh? Awesome, But I digress. I don't even know where I was going with that story. It was just a fucking awesome story. Anyway, thanks for sticking in for the next 2 segments of this now. That'll be broken up. So that'll make 5 in this new series in the black shirt, we'll call it. Thanks for tuning in. It was good to see you, and I love you. And until next time, never stop spreading your light.